Hey everybody, welcome. Welcome to the Springboard Career AMA. Go ahead and let me know who's here. I'm excited to chat with you today. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day to all of you, and thanks for joining. Thanks for joining this morning. It's 11 a.m. where I am. If you're in the Pacific time zone, I think it's pretty early for you, so thanks for joining. But yeah, go ahead and let me know who's on as you join. Drop your name in the chat. I would love to just kind of know who's on, who's joining me today. And let me just go ahead. It looks like it's right at 11. We will wait a couple minutes just to allow a few more people to come on board. Hi, Alfie. Hi, Alfie. Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, and thanks for letting me know that you're here. Just wanted to kind of go over a few of our house rules for today. Basically, if you have a question, please feel free to drop that in the Q&A, and I'll be picking up all of the questions after we've done the actual presentation this morning. And for those of you who don't know our topic this morning, I think you're going to be very excited about it because I hear this question over and over and over again all the time. With people who are kind of going through the interview process or who are getting into the networking piece of things, it's, when somebody asks me to tell me about myself, what exactly do they mean by that? So we're going to be talking today about how to build the perfect pitch for the tell me about yourself question. And what you'll find is that when I give you this kind of recipe for how to build a pitch, you'll find that you'll be able to build this and you'll be able to use this in all settings, all the networking settings. You'll be able to use this in your interviews. You'll be able to use this whenever you're trying to tell people and explain who you are and what you do. So again, very excited to be able to share this because communication is essential in this process. Hi, Tatiana. Hi, Efia. Thanks so much, guys, for joining. So glad to see you again. So good to see you. All right. Well, let me just see here. Like I said, guys, definitely begin to drop your questions in the Q&A. I see I already have one that popped up, and we will discuss those. We will go over those right after I finish the presentation. But again, since you guys are here, we're going to go ahead and get started. And I've already started to share my screen with you. So I'm going to stop the video for a second and just kind of go through the slides that I have for you. And again, while I'm going through the slides, if any specific questions come up, don't hesitate to drop those questions in the Q&A, and I will try and stop and address those as they come up. So let's go ahead and get started. Again, today's topic is building the perfect pitch for the tell me about yourself question. And so let me just kind of share, for those of you who are joining today, I just wanted to make sure that you knew that we've done several of these career AMAs, Ask Me Anything. And so just wanted to kind of make sure that you check out those past recordings if you haven't already. We've done one on leveraging your virtual networks, overcoming job and career setbacks, how to position yourself as essential. Again, all the talk about essential businesses and essential hires and all of that. We did one a few weeks back on how to position yourself as essential. So again, make sure you're reviewing that. How to create messages that maximize results on LinkedIn. Again, with everybody being at home these days, really being able to create messages that get responses is going to be something that's very important. So that's another good one that you're going to want to catch. How to take your resume from good to great was another one that we did, and actually one that's not on here. How to gain experience when you're a new professional or have little to no experience to work from it. That one is not on here, but again, that was another one that we did. So again, please make sure that you're checking out those past career videos on all of those various topics to kind of move you forward in your search. All right. So again, let me just, for those of you who may be new, I recognize a few of the names that dropped in the chat. So many of you have probably already been joining me for the last few weeks. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is Adeniki McKinday, and I am a career coach with Springboard, working primarily with their data courses, data science, data analytics, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. But I'm also a business owner. I have my own business called Joyfully Career Strategy and Confidence Coaching. And this is where I love to help people find work that brings them fullness of joy and help them build their confidence and walk out a career strategy and go out and get the job that they love. So again, I have more than 20 years of experience in coaching, training, program development, and career development combined across a lot of different industries. I love, love, love working with professionals, technical professionals. You know, that's a group I've had a lot of experience with, and I really enjoy working with them. And again, my philosophy in life is you never have to settle, especially in the workplace. You know, you can always, always, always go after, you know, that thing that you really enjoy. So that's just a little bit about me. So let's just jump right into the presentation. So again, today's topic is really focusing on how to build the perfect pitch. You know, you've heard that term, the elevator pitch, and we understand that the elevator pitch, the whole point of a pitch is the concept is that you meet somebody and you have 2 minutes or less to kind of tell them in a snapshot who you are, what you offer, why they should talk to you, you know, why they should, move forward in a conversation with you. You have 2 minutes to convince them that you have something that they need, you have something of value. And so we're going to spend a little time talking about how to craft that so that, again, you're always ready whenever these opportunities present themselves, and you're able to kind of tell that story in a concise way, but with a lot of added value. So the first step that I really want to walk you through is you really want to kind of sit down and think through who you are. And again, this is not necessarily a job title. So if someone, comes to you and they say, tell me a little bit about yourself, most of us want to start with, well, I'm an accountant, or I'm a website designer, or I'm a consultant, and those titles in and of themselves give them a general picture of maybe who you are, but they don't tell them the story. They don't tell them a lot about who you are. So this is not necessarily a job title. You want to dig deeper and think about kind of at your core, what is it you love doing? So you might be a website designer, but perhaps at your core, you're really someone who loves to tell stories with pictures. You love to be able to draw with what's in someone's mind out of their mind and place it on the paper. If you were to say that, I can take the pictures that are in your mind, the thoughts that are in your mind, the dreams that are in your mind, and I can craft, pictures and designs that bring those things to life. That's exciting. That's exciting for someone to hear. So you want to think outside the box of who you are. Again, it's not necessarily a job title. So that's the first step. Define who you are. The next thing you want to do is you want to think through, who do you help? Okay, so what are the pressing problems of the people that you enjoy helping most, or what are the pressing problems of the organization that you enjoy helping most? You really want to think through this whenever you're thinking about who do you help, because again, when you can define, I enjoy working with children, I enjoy working with working professionals, I enjoy working with seniors, I enjoy working with women, and kind of, give that a little bit more detail, really break that down into some detail. Whenever you can define that, that really helps you to define what companies are going to be a great company and a great match for you. So who do you help? Really think through, who do you help? What are the problems you enjoy solving for organization? What are the people that you enjoy helping most? That is step 2 in how to really kind of build this perfect pitch. Step number 3, you want to think about, what is the why behind what you do? Again, why are you passionate about this work? Again, when you're thinking about moving into a new field, you have to be able to tell a compelling story about the reason why you wanted to get into it. If you're just kind of saying, well, it looks like it looks like something that I can make a lot of money in. Okay, well, that's not a real why. Okay, that's a result. That's, you want money. But when you're trying to convince somebody that you're really a good match for their organization, for this particular skill, for this particular position, you have to really come up with the why. What is the why behind what you do? Why you are passionate about that work? And then Alfie, yeah, my client Science Simic famously says, why is the most important? Absolutely, the why is it. For those of you who have not seen that that Simon Sinek video, really where he describes describes in detail about the why behind what the why behind, he gives the example of Microsoft and Apple and kind of why Apple has this kind of fanatical following. You really want to check that video out. And I know personally, I have bought from people simply because of their why. It's not that I necessarily needed something that they had, but because of their why, because of what they stood for, I wanted to support them. And so I happily bought their product. So again, you want to be thinking about the why behind the work that you do, because that's really going to resonate with the right types of employers. Okay, perfect. Thanks so much for dropping that question, Alfie. I love that. Okay, number 4, how do you help people? Okay, now this is where your skills come into play. Okay, so instead of jumping right into, I analyze, or I, build websites, or I draw pictures, or I write, you want to talk, in detail about which of your skills, experiences, and credentials you use most in order to help people and organizations solve their problems. So when you talk about the how, this is where your skill set comes in. This is where, again, personality maybe even comes into play. This is where a lot of the things, the soft and hard skills, come into play, and where you break down, these are the things, the gifts and the skills that you use in order to help people. So you want to then get into the skills under the how part of things. Now, number 5 and number 6, these are critical. I think a lot of people tend to forget about these. But what type of results, or accomplishments do organizations get when working with you? Okay, so this is where a lot of people lose it. They'll say, hey, I led a project, I was a project manager, I built a website, I analyzed some data. Okay, they'll say those types of things, but they fall short because they don't talk about the types of results. What were the accomplishments and the values that you brought to the organization or the people that you work with? And that's the critical part of it. And so you really want, as part of your story, to really break down, and we went through some of this last week when I kind of went over how to take your resume from good to great. We went in detail about how to take your statements from just duty statements to accomplishment statements. So again, the same thing applies when you're trying to build that pitch, that 2-minute statement that you're going to talk about, kind of what you bring to the table, and tell somebody about yourself. You really want to break down the results that you bring to an organization. And then finally, the call to action. This is, how can the person you are talking to help you best? Okay, what do you want to leave with the person that you're talking to? You always want to end off, any pitch that you're doing with a call to action. And a call to action is going to literally be, after you've shared everything you have to offer, hey, I would love to be able to kind of, learn a little bit more about what your company is looking for. Would you be available to meet for coffee? Or, if you know anyone who kind of, anyone who fits, that profile that I just laid out for you, would you be willing to give me a referral? So call to action is where you're asking for something. You're asking, you're really sharing with the other person how they can help you best. So that is the formula for how to build out that perfect pitch. And again, the end goal is, you want to build this out, because if you build this out right, it's not that you'll necessarily use all 6 components every single time, but if you build this out right, it really prepares you for that infamous that infamous tell me about yourself question that comes up whenever you're in interviews. You'll already have that laid out, really, really well. It'll prepare you, help you with building your about section of your LinkedIn profile. Again, everybody reads the about section because they want to understand, who you are and what you have to offer past just your work experience. So this will really help you to craft a very strong about section that really holistically tells what you have to offer and what you bring to the table. And it prepares you to share during networking. So you don't have to feel uncomfortable. You don't have to feel like you don't know what to say when you go to networking events, or when you meet people out in a networking environment. You will already have this pitch kind of laid out, and again, you'll memorize parts of it so that you can share it right away. And so I had another question here. I like to phrase it as a question. If I say I keep them informed throughout my progress, I say I see my clients as collaborators. Okay, Alfie, thanks. Thanks for sharing that. Absolutely. Phrasing it as a question. That's good. That's really good. Perfect. Okay. So let's go ahead and move into an example. I never like to leave without actually sharing an example with you guys. And so what I wanted to do is I actually just kind of pulled my own elevator pitch that I have been kind of building and refining over the years, and kind of shared that with you as kind of an example of how to walk through this. And like I said, I would recommend definitely pull out paper and pull out pen, kind of take some notes and start building yours as we're going. But again, in this example, the first thing you want to start with is, who am I? So again, my titles are purpose coach and career strategist. Those are my titles. Okay. But if I say to someone, if someone says, okay, who are you? What do you do? If I said, oh, I'm a purpose coach and a career strategist, they might have a vague idea of what that is. Okay. Just like if I say, if I'm an accountant or I'm a web designer, they might have a vague idea of what that is, but that doesn't really tell the whole story. But if I say something like, I'm a coach, an advisor, and a teacher at heart with a deep expertise in helping people, professionals, realize their gifts and strengths, build confidence, and find high demand careers that fit those skills. Now that's telling somebody something, okay? I'm like, oh wow, you're a coach, and a teacher, and you have a deep expertise in helping people realize gifts and strengths. If that's something that they've been looking for, then again, that really makes it clear. So again, I really want to emphasize that whenever you're starting to share who you are, it's okay to share a title, but a lot of times you do need to expand on that to really help people understand a little bit more about you. So who do I help? Who do I help? Oh, Shamita, thank you. Thank you for that feedback. I'm so glad that you're able to kind of resonate that's helpful to you. So the next thing, who do I help? Okay, so I know for me, primarily, I have a long history of helping really technical people. My personality and my skill set seems to really fit technical people. So I find that I really attract and work really well with people who are in the STEM professions: science, technology, engineering, and math. Also, education and consulting I've had quite a bit of experience working with professionals in that field. So when I think about who do I help, again, you want to think about it in terms of organizations. Perhaps you are an animal lover, or you're an art lover, and or maybe you're a restaurateur, or someone who has primarily had a lot of experience working with different types of industries. Think about the industries that you have the most experience working with, or I should say, what I actually want to say is, think about the industries that you love working with, because there can be some industries that maybe you have a lot of experience with, but you don't really enjoy working with those industries. So you really want to think through, who do you help? Who do you help primarily? Who do you really love helping? And then write that out. The why behind what I do. So for me, this is very personal for me. I have personally actually walked out finding my purpose. It started roughly about 8 years ago, when I really got serious about making sure that I wasn't just doing a job, taking a job for the money, and that I was really actively seeking out work with purpose. And so for me, this is a calling for me. I walk this out personally, and I have a deep passion for helping other people realize that they don't have to settle, because I feel like in large part, early on in my career, I did a lot of settling. And I want other people to understand that you don't have to settle. So the why behind what I do is, I've personally gone through this process. I work with so many people who feel like they have no choice, that they have to settle for jobs that, they hate, they don't enjoy, they're not good at. And so my why is, I want to help people realize that, no, you don't have to do that. Okay. And so now we walk into the how. How do you help these people? So I told you who I was. I told you the people I primarily like to help. I told you the why behind what I'm doing. Now, how do I do that? Okay, I'm a coach. So I use a combination of skills. I coach, I consult, I advise, I train, I mentor, I build programs. Again, I didn't include all of that in here, but basically these are the skills I use: my coaching skills, advising skills, training skills, mentoring skills, teaching skills. I use that. And actually I built out a program that I literally walk my clients through. I help them find joy-filled themes in their skills and gifts and match those to real world careers. So that's how I help the people that I feel called to. So again, you want to think about, what are the primary skills that you enjoy most? That might be, again, problem solving, analysis, being able to manage a project from A to Z. Think about the skills that you use that really impact people, that you really use to help people, and that's going to be your how. Okay, that's wonderful. A bad job causes so much depression. Absolutely, Alfie. You are absolutely right about that. A bad job causes so much depression. And so you don't have to settle with that. And that's, like I said, that's something I'm always trying to share with people. And then, so the next thing is the what, or the results. So you always want to talk about those accomplishments, the value that you brought. What are your results? Again, this is what's going to make you stand out from someone who's literally just saying, this is what I did. This is the duty that I did while on this particular job. You want to go into detail about what are some of your results. So for me, some of the results is that my clients consistently say that my gifts of encouraging and motivating has really helped them get clear on their purpose and direction. They knew that I care about them as unique individuals. Again, that one really touches my heart, because I've had clients say that over and over to me. Again, I can tell this is not just a process for you or a formula for you, but that you care about me as an individual. So that's something, some of the results that I hear my clients talk to me about. I provide practical strategies and support, again, that they can implement immediately. And this all gave them the courage to leave toxic workplaces, move into new businesses, and go after positions that they initially felt underqualified for. So these are the results. These are just a few of the results that I've gotten from my clients. So again, think about what has your work, the work that you've done, in the jobs that you've had, what are the results that you've been getting for the organizations or the people that you work for? And then the call to action. Again, this is the important step. Don't just leave it there. Once you've given that pitch, once you're out at that networking event and you've done this amazing job of just kind of sharing what it is you do, then make sure to follow up, with a call to action. So, if I were at a networking event, I might say, hey, I love what I do. I feel like it's a calling. If you know anyone that might benefit from this type of support, I'd love to get an introduction, or I'd love to meet them. I'd love to be able to help them. And so that's a call to action. Again, depending on the type of situation you're in, if you are meeting with a hiring manager, you might just say, everything I've outlined for you there, that's my passion. That's what I really love to do. I love your company. And so I'd love to be able to sit down a little bit more and talk to you about what type of individual you're looking for at your company. So that is a call to action. So again, that's just a quick and simple example of how to put the process back in place. And so again, just to kind of go back again, 6 parts. Again, make sure you take a picture of that, or again, you're going to get the recording. So make sure that you kind of lay out these 6 steps, and then build your own example. Build your own example of that pitch. And again, this is going to help you. This is really going to help you in so many different ways. The tell me about yourself question, networking situations, and again, all of those situations where you really have to very quickly come up with an example to really help a person understand the value that you bring. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, guys, and come on screen here. But that is in a nutshell, how you want to make sure that you are literally building out a very, very strong pitch that you can use in multiple scenarios. You don't have to get stuck on that tell me about yourself question. Again, the key is you may not always use all 6 components. You do want to keep it concise. So it's important to keep it at that 2-minute mark whenever you're talking, so that you don't lose people. But if you build it out, then again, you can pull the appropriate parts and use it in various different scenarios. So I hope you guys found that helpful. Hopefully you found that helpful, and that will help you in building your own pitch. Perfect. So let me go ahead and pull up some questions and see what kind of questions we have. Again, please go ahead and drop your questions in the Q&A, and I will go ahead and get those answered right here on the call. So the first question that came up, and Alfie, thank you for this question. It says, do you think resumes will eventually become irrelevant? That's a great question, Alfie. And I'll just tell you, in my circles, there's been a lot of debate about, if resumes will eventually become irrelevant, if people will really go more towards, just LinkedIn profiles and things of that nature. I would say for the near future, a resume is still going to be something that is going to be used, because again, it's a simple thing. Whenever someone's trying to evaluate you quickly, it's easy just to ask for a resume and kind of make a determination based on a resume. But I would say that resumes are just one piece of the puzzle. Whereas, many years ago, the resume was that was everything you had to offer. Now there's so much more that you can offer. You can offer a LinkedIn profile. You can build a website if you have a portfolio and offer, to showcase, your skills via a website or some type of portfolio. So you have so much more to offer. What I would say is that resumes only get you so far. Resumes only get you so far. And what I mean by that is I have had candidates, when I was on the hiring side, and I would go through resumes, there would be some spectacular resumes. People would look great on paper. But then when I picked up the phone to talk to them, it was a no-go. Okay. So they couldn't communicate properly. They couldn't articulate, what they had to offer and their value very properly. They couldn't even walk me thoroughly through their resume properly. So, at the end of the day, if you have a resume, but you can't, you don't have a strong pitch, you can't communicate, who you are, your why, your value. If you can't communicate those things, you'll still lose out. So it's really important to understand that a resume is just a tool. It's one tool amongst a variety of different tools. And so building this pitch and being able to communicate verbally as well as in a written form, very, very important. So Alfie, I hope that answers your question. Again, I don't see them going away in the near future, but again, definitely you don't want to rely exclusively on a resume. That is a written form of what you have to offer, and it can certainly showcase your communication skills and give people a little bit of a sense of what you have to offer. But at the end of the day, you are going to have to be able to showcase those relevant skills orally as well. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question, Alfie. Okay, so let me just see here. I have another question from Aparna. You said, what are the kind of accomplishments that we can talk about? Does it mean certifications or soft skills? How can we talk about our soft skill accomplishments? Okay, so that's a great question, Aparna. So when we're talking about accomplishments, you want to keep in mind that you always have to have a goal. You have to have a starting point. So what I mean by that is, what is the specific position that you're going after? What is the specific role that you're going after? Okay, so let's just take an example, like an accounting position, per se. And Aparna, if you have an example, feel free to drop that in and we can definitely talk through that particular scenario. But if you're an accountant, what's going to be important to a person who's looking to hire you? Okay, attention to detail is going to be extremely important. Obviously, a strong math aptitude is going to be extremely important. Okay, there are going to be certain things that are going to be very, very important. There are going to be probably certain certifications. Absolutely, if you have a bachelor's or a master's that really showcase your accounting expertise, those things are going to be important. So you have to. The starting point is, what is the position that I'm going after? Okay, once you are clear on the position that you're going after, then it's so much easier to kind of understand. Okay, what is an employer going to value here? What kind of accomplishments can I showcase that's going to be valuable here? Again, just kind of talking about the soft skill part of things. Typically, employers will tell you what soft skills they're interested in. Again, if you're applying for a job with Amazon, they've already laid out their 10 leadership principles. Those are going to be the soft skills. You're going to find the soft skills they're interested in right in the 10 leadership principles. Okay, so employers will typically say, we want someone who is highly collaborative. We want someone who's a strong communicator. We want someone who has the team mentality, strong leadership skills. They're going to say things like that. Those are the skills you want to highlight. Okay, so always look over the employer's job description, look over their website, because 9 times out of 10, they're telling you exactly what soft skills that they're most interested in, and that's what you want to focus on. Okay, so Aparna, let me know if that answers your question there. Okay, let me see. Oh, Alfie, I love this. You said it's like a date that looks good on paper and is a jerk in person. Oh my goodness, that's exactly right. So you go to that profile, right? And oh my God, they look amazing and they sound amazing. And then when you actually meet them in person, you're like, where did they go? What happened? They sent their representative. They didn't actually come. So that is an excellent, excellent example. Okay. Okay, and so I have another question here about, working in a toxic environment, which has ultimately lowered my self-esteem, and how do I mentally get over that? Oh, that is a great question, because toxic environments, they are real. I have so many people who they love the work that they do, but the environment is so toxic that literally they can't do their best work there. They're in such they're in such a, like I said, internally their stomach is clenching. Their mind is like always, they're super nervous because of just kind of what they have to endure. I talk to people who are enduring this every single day. And this is, my advice in terms of, whenever you've gone through a toxic situation like that, then it is really important, honestly, Alfie, to, make sure that you are on your own personal time, finding some things to kind of build yourself back up, finding a community, a support group where you can really kind of talk through some of these issues and kind of get, some good tools. I know personally, when I had a toxic environment that I was a part of, and I found that I had to literally go out and, like I said, said, become a part of a community, be able to talk through some of those issues. I had to get books. I had to, build a meditation practice just to kind of get myself back to a place of mental and physical health, because these things can tear you down. They tear you down so bad. And so my first advice would be, you can't give what you don't have. And so if you're in a toxic environment, you're not going to be working at your best. You're not going to be able to give your best. You're not doing anybody any favors. And so my first advice would be to, remove yourself from that toxic environment and really get into a place where you can kind of rebuild, where you have the space to kind of rebuild yourself. Because again, my number one philosophy in life is you have to be okay first. You have to be your best self before you can give out to others. Otherwise, people are just getting your dregs. And so, yes, I definitely, my first advice is you have to take care of yourself first before you can give out to others. So if you're in a toxic environment, it's super important that you get you some tools. You get you some, like I said, some tools to really kind of build yourself back up. And then once you're built back up, then you can go back in and find, an environment that is going to be nurturing and that really is going to build you up, and allow you to do your best work. And that's another thing. Again, I'll just kind of share that too. I am really big on, it's so important that you not just look for just the position, because you can find the perfect position, but it not be the right company. So you really want to make sure you're doing your search to include the right position plus the right company culture that's going to be right for you, where you're going to be able to flourish and grow, because you're going to do your best work, whenever you're in that type of environment. So don't just discount your lifestyle needs, your mental health needs, your professional growth needs, just to get into a company. Really make sure that company is, pouring into you too, and that it's a win-win type of a situation. Okay, so Alfie, hopefully that helped. There's so many different organizations out here that really just kind of pour into, you can kind of connect with, and they pour into you and help you to kind of build up. So, definitely make sure you find something like that to kind of get rebuilt. The skills, you can always do the skills. But the mental health, again, if your mental and physical health goes, you're no good to anyone. Okay, so make sure you're taking care of yourself first. Okay. Okay, so Aparna, perfect. Thank you for this example. You said 8 years of experience in architecture with a bachelor's and a master's. You were a project manager and designer, and you're making a shift into UX. Okay, and so you want to talk about your skills in team building, empathizing, and problem solving. Okay, perfect. That's a great question. So again, like I said, we all know, obviously, when we're talking about going into a field like, design, obviously there are certain things that employers right off the bat are going to want to know from a design perspective. So what I always say is make sure that you build a company list and go in and look and see what are the companies that I'm most interested in being a part of. What skills do they most value? So you want to make sure you get the skills part taken care of, because once you get the skills part taken care of, then you can kind of focus on now your soft skills. So let's check the team building part for an example. You want to be able to show with clear examples about, how your team skills has added value to a company. So let's just say, you're going to have a team, or you're going to lead a team, or you're going to collaborate with a team. Then you want to be able to say that when I came on board, with one of my employers, I came in initially as a part of the team, but because my work was so heads and tails above everything they'd ever seen. Because I did such exceptional work, they immediately promoted me into a team lead. I was given responsibility for up to 3 people. And then you want to talk a little bit about kind of what you did with those people. As a part of building up my team, what I would do is, I would hold weekly meetings and allow each team to rotate and talk about the things that were most important to them. So again, you really want to give some very, very clear examples of how you have built up a team, how you have nurtured a team, how you have, made a team more collaborative. Give some examples of how, the work that you did made the team come together a little bit better, how you helped the team solve conflicts, solve problems. You want to give clear examples of how your team skills has made a difference for an organization. That's how you're going to be able to promote your team skills. Again, empathizing. This is where you want to give examples of how a situation, how you had a situation where somebody came to you and you had to really be able to feel, you were able to not just look at the situation in black and white, but you were able to feel how they felt in that situation. And it really gave you the opportunity to be able to give them some advice that really helped them to move past that situation. So it wasn't just about maybe bringing the hammer down at that particular time. You understood that there was something going on in the background. There was something maybe going on in their personal life, and you were able to come together with that person, empathize with their situation, and really help them through that situation, as opposed to just being a hardcore, a hardcore, you didn't get this done, it's black and white, and so you're out of here. So again, think about those examples of where you have empathized, where you have solve problems in creative ways, and build out statements that really showcase those. So those maybe are some examples of how you can talk about your soft skills. Okay, so hopefully that was helpful, Aparna. Okay, let's just see. Let me see. And then Alfie, see, I've always been offered a job or found through social media, Instagram. I'm feeling so anxious about going. Okay, so Alfie, I'm not sure. There's a question you've written here, and I'm just not quite sure what it, kind of how to answer it. I'm not quite sure what it's saying. So if you could maybe expand on that a little bit, that would be very, very helpful to me in terms of being able to make sure I'm answering that question for you. Okay, so here's a question. Sarita, thank you for your question. It says, how do you begin to seek companies that align with my values, emotional and mental health needs when transitioning into a new field? For instance, a company that is a safe space for LGBTQ or racially diverse. Okay, so Sarita, this is an excellent question. I mean, again, there are going to be clues and signs. There are going to be clues and signs about what a company's values are, and kind of what they value above most. Most companies will outright say, we are very much into diversity and inclusion. That's one of the pillars of our organization. And so you'll kind of pick up on that. I always recommend, definitely, you have to follow companies, not just on social media, because we do understand that on social media, that's more of the marketing. And so you can kind of pick up on some of, the marketing kind of values and things. But I typically recommend do a Google, set a Google alert on a company that you have a high interest in, and see what's coming up about them in the news. Sometimes there are articles that pop up that really kind of give you a sense of maybe some deeper things that may be going on with the company. And then the other thing that I always recommend is that if you really want to know what a company is really like, you really need to talk to someone who's worked there, typically in the past. Most people who are still working there may or may not be willing to kind of, get into details unless it's just an exceptional company and they're just a cheerleader. But I always say, go on LinkedIn and find somebody who used to work there a few years ago, who no longer works there, and then just reach out and just say, I have a high interest in this company. I really want to get a sense of kind of what their culture and their value, is. Would you be open to just, answering a few questions or chatting for about 5 minutes to just kind of tell me about your experience? And so, like I said, because that person is maybe, a few years out, they no longer work there, it's been a while since they've worked there, they are more likely to be open to maybe kind of sharing with you some of the things that they've observed about a company and some of the things that they may understand about that. Of course, we know that there's Glassdoor and there's a lot of other company review websites out there where you can kind of get a sneak peek about some things. But again, I think a well-rounded approach is to make sure you're following them on social media, reaching out to people for these informational interviews on the values of the company. Again, people who have very little to lose. And then, like I said, following the company review websites, that should give you more of a holistic view of kind of what's going on with that company. Okay, so Sarita, hopefully that that answers your question as well. Perfect. Okay, so Alfie said, how can I manage giving? Oh, I'm sorry, Yvonne, how can I manage giving references for future employment when I worked for a school district for over 14 years and administration changed and was basically forced out? Okay, yeah, that's a rough one. What I would say is that if you don't already have those references for employment, then with LinkedIn, I would, like I said, people really underestimate the power of LinkedIn and Facebook and social media. I've been able to go back and find people that I went to college with, 15, 20 years ago. And so what I would say is, to get those references, I would attempt through social media to just kind of reach those folks and just kind of say, hey, I know it's been a while, but, would you be open to doing this? That's one option. The other option is that you just have to kind of build up, you constantly have to have a fresh pool of references that can speak to you where you are right now. So you can just kind of share, it's kind of like the gap question, right? If you have a gap on your resume, you just have to be ready to share what that gap's about. So the same thing, for references. If you have a 14 years of experience at a field, they know that you have tenure. They know that you have longevity, if nothing else. And so you may just have to kind of build up a recent pool of references and just kind of share. I was with that organization for a number of years. They had a total restructure. The administration has changed. I have no idea how to kind of get a hold of the administration, but I always keep current references. And so here's some current references that can really kind of showcase what I'm doing now and what I'm capable of now. So that's a little bit of a tough one if you can't get a hold of someone that you worked with many, many years ago. But the beautiful thing is, definitely make sure that you are utilizing LinkedIn and getting those recommendations on your posts, because LinkedIn, again, is a living, breathing type of a resume. So the beauty of that is, if you're getting recommendations as you go on LinkedIn, it doesn't matter. 5 years from now, you'll still have those references and those recommendations on your LinkedIn profile. And so then you don't have to worry about, trying to find those people from many, many years ago necessarily. So that's one thing that you can think about in terms of how to kind of get those references. So Yvonne, and then you say, okay, I have 3 references at least, and I have LinkedIn. Perfect. So just build from there. Sometimes you just have to build from there. At the end of the day, the reason why an employer is asking about references is because, they want to get some sense of what other people are saying about you. They want to get some sense of how other people would describe you. Just people from 10 or 14 years ago, you could have changed from 10 or 14 years ago, just to be quite honest with you. And so it's one of those things where, they may value the more current references more anyway. So think about it like that. They may value those more. So just keep that fresh reference pool always open. Okay, so Alfie, thank you for rewriting that question a little bit for me. You said, I have always been offered jobs as a freelancer instead of going after them. I feel anxious going after jobs. How do I feel? Oh, gotcha. So basically, it seems like you're saying that people have always come to you. People have always come to you and given you the job. And now you're in maybe a position where you have to go after jobs, and you need to feel more confident in doing that. Well, and that's a great question, honestly, because if you've never, I've had several people who've had that situation. It's like every job that they ever had, they gave it to them. They just offered it to them. And so they never had to really get a resume together. They never had to network. And so there is a sense of anxiety about, okay, how do I go about doing this? The short answer, Alfie, is that, if they were coming to you consistently like that, then you obviously have something very, very valuable to offer. Okay. And so you want to think through, you really need to sit down. That's why I'm saying you really have to sit down and think through all of the value, the accomplishment, the things that you've done for clients over the past, and really kind of write that out and have that, to look over, so that you can build your confidence in the fact that, whatever you were doing before, if people were consistently coming back to you, then you must have been doing something right. And so, there's probably no issue with your skill set. Now, what you're probably feeling is just discomfort with having to do something new. That's typically, that's why, like I said, as a part of the work that I do, I always offer that confidence building part, because most people just don't feel confident because they've never done it before. And so it just feels uncomfortable. And so again, that's why, honestly, Alfie, in that situation, you really do, having a community or working with a coach is really going to be critical in this stage, because that's why you really need to have somebody who can really help you, again, pull out those things that are, your skill set, your valuable skills and accomplishments, and then just help you kind of give you a plan for how to walk out, how to talk to people about what you have to offer. So now that you're on the flip side and having to go after these things, you just really want to have a plan in place, and you need, like I said, you really need to build a pitch that really showcases what you have to offer, so that you can kind of go after these with ease. You want to feel natural. You want to feel authentic. I think a lot of people feel like you have to be fake, that you have to kind of feel, a lot of people feel like, it feels like a sales pitch. It feels like I'm saying something that's not true. And you want to avoid that at all costs. You really want to build a pitch that feels very natural and authentic to you, but that also captures your very, very valuable skills and all that you've offered, to past clients. And when you build that out, again, that's what's going to make you feel a little bit more comfortable with it. What I always say is practice on the people that you know first. Okay. So start reaching out to people who you have some connection with, practice on them first and just say, how did that sound? How did that come across? And then once you start getting feedback from people about how you sound, the people that then you'll start feeling a little bit more comfortable about going after then, people that you don't maybe know as well, people, new clients and new areas. So it is a question of, getting help, getting support with kind of building out your pitch, building out a plan, getting some support with that. And then it's practice, practice, practice. Just to be honest, Alfie, I mean, you get more comfortable the more you do it. But you do have to, you do want to feel like you have a plan in place for how to walk that out. Okay, perfect, perfect. All right, and so let me just check here. I think I have a few more questions in the Q&A that just kind of popped up here. Let me see. Okay, perfect. Okay, so Yvonne says, being in the public school education system, what can I expect for the upcoming year? Again, a great question. And Yvonne, like I said, I can't really answer that question in, universally. Okay, I do have some contacts and I do have people, that are in the school system. So I can tell you what I know from my network. It really just depends on the specific area that you're in, the specific region that you're in. Again, I would definitely keep, keep follow, get some Google alerts set up for your district, get some Google alerts sets up for kind of what's going on in terms of how shelter in places are starting to roll out in different areas. Because that's, we won't know. These are just answers that I don't personally have, and I don't think anybody really has these answers. And so you really just want to keep your eye without getting just, without like, staying on social media and the news cycle 24/7. You don't want to do that. But again, I like Google Alerts because if you just put the name of your school organization in the field and just say, hey, bring up for me anytime, somebody's talking about my school district in the news, it will at least bring up for you some things that may keep you informed about what's going on with the district. So that is one thing that, but it's really unpredictable. And so what I just say is that focus on like, what can you do today to just stay relevant? What can you do today? What's relevant right now? Be preparing yourself for what's relevant right now, because again, you always want to have that plan B, right? Whatever's happening with your plan A, if you have a plan B and you're actively networking and staying on top of maybe jobs that are similar to the education field, if that's where you want to stay, then that will at least open up some options to you. Start connecting with educators, start connecting with people in training, start connecting with people, who are in companies that, again, that are peripheral to the education field, and start picking their brains and get a sense of what's out there. There's lots of different even platforms out here that are keeping track of companies that are doing pauses and hires and freezes. Make sure you're looking for those and keeping your eye on what are the companies out there that are continuing to kind of move forward, because I think that'll be helpful to you in terms of staying on top of what's happening with your job, with your industry in general. Okay. Okay, so Lahita says, where should I start networking if I am new to a place and I have no connections at all? How to make the most out of online meetups? That's again, like I said, the situation that we find ourselves in is a lot different. I know that, in my particular area, they are starting to open back up. And so some people are starting to open back up, on, in-person meetups, because meeting people in person really is the quickest and most efficient way, in my experience, for really establishing those strong connections. Whenever you're able to kind of go to an in-person, it really does make a difference. But if you're still in a situation where you're having to do it virtually, then again, I do recommend, I recommend finding virtual meetups where they do breakout rooms, where they're going to allow you to actually break out into a group and actually get to talk to people in that field. I highly recommend, if you're on Facebook has some great groups. Facebook groups are very, very engaging. And from a professional standpoint, they have tons of groups. They have groups for everything that you can imagine: HR groups, design groups, data science groups. I mean, groups for everything, a lot of professional groups. I actually recommend joining some Facebook groups and starting to network within those Facebook groups, letting people know, hey, I'm new to the area. I'm just curious, what's the market like in this area? And just start talking to people. Again, because Facebook groups tend to be very engaging, people will answer your questions. They will jump all over that and start answering your questions. And then what you can do is, if you if you have somebody who answers a question or engages with you in a way that you find particularly helpful, make sure you connect with them on Facebook, individually, and reach out and ask for that informational interview. So what I like, my strategy is find a strong group where you can ask questions, a strong community where you can ask questions, or like I said, engage with people on some type of one-to-one basis. And then when you find somebody you like, reach out to them personally and ask if they would be willing to do a one-on-one, what we call informational interviews. And that's how you can really start making some of those stronger connections. So I do recommend, if you are in a brand new to an area, join a bunch of Facebook groups, even community groups, even groups that are not necessarily job focused, but maybe are community focused. That's a really good way to kind of get a sense and just jump in the community and just say, hey, I'm new to the field. And I'm just curious about, if they're, what you would recommend for those professionals that are in here, what you would recommend for this particular field. If you know anyone, I'd love to get some suggestions. So jump into those community groups and start asking questions and start letting people know what you're looking for. And that would be one great way to really get connected really quickly, Lahita. Okay. And yeah, they have some online meetups. Try those as well. Again, just keep your eye. LinkedIn has a lot of virtual groups that are out there. Eventbrite, lots of virtual groups that are out there. So make sure you keep your eye on those. And like I said, I really like to look for those where there's going to be some type of one-on-one time, where there's some type of breakout group, where it's not just a presentation, but I have access to an attendee list, or there's going to be an opportunity to break off in some type of breakout room, which Zoom does offer. Okay. So that's one way that I definitely recommend starting to get connected, Lahita. Okay. Let's just say here. Okay, so any other questions that are coming up let me just kind of check through here, make sure I've gotten everybody's questions for the most part. Okay. Okay. So again, guys, make sure, because I have my eye really heavily focused on this Q&A, make sure you drop your questions in the Q&A. I think I want to make sure I'm not missing your questions. So if you had it in the chat, I am not able to see the chat as readily as the Q&A. So make sure and drop it in the Q&A for me. Okay. So Yvonne says, I'm considering a possible career switch into coding. Over age 50, lots of focused educational background. Is it worth it? I have over a decade in graphic arts experience, which could be a huge benefit as far as foundational skills. Okay, again, great question. So this is the thing. Whenever you have a lot of experience in an area, you're naturally going to be a top candidate for that particular domain. So if you're thinking about making a switch into a different area, this kind of goes back to kind of the pitch. You really want to ask yourself why you're making that switch. Because, it doesn't matter, what your age is in my mind. It doesn't matter necessarily about that. What really matters is that, do you really have a passion for this new industry that you're trying to move into? Because again, you have to have some level of passion and motivation to go and get the skills that are required to, first of all, make the switch. So that's number one. You have to be dedicated enough to be able to stick with what it takes. The second thing is, yes, you are going to have to do a high level of networking in order to start breaking in and meeting people in this new industry, because all of your contacts and networks are in the other industry. Okay. And so I've definitely seen people do it without question. I have seen people come in, definitely over the age of 40 and 50, make total career changes and be successful in it. But there is a level of passion that you're going to need that is required to really kind of see the thing through to the end. So you really have to ask yourself kind of why you're making this switch. Do you have natural aptitude and interest in this area that will translate well? So if you can say yes to those two questions, then the next thing that you want to do is really start thinking about, the experience that you do have, how can I maybe break in using the industry experience that I already have? So you mentioned graphic design. So if you're using graphic design for, I'll just pick let's just say hospitality. Let's just say you've been doing graphic design in the hospitality industry, or doing it in some type of industry that maybe is suffering a little bit right now. Then you want to be thinking about, okay, is there anything from that I can maybe take to this new industry? Is there any industry that I could really take my transferable skills from graphic design, from hospitality, and really transfer that over. And so, in my mind, when I think of hospitality, I immediately think of, project management. I think of event planning. I think of client focus. I think of problem solving. So those are some transferable skills that will really transfer over very nicely into some other fields. So again, if you can think about the transferable skills that you can take with you from your previous experience, how those are going to fit over into the new industry. And yes, I have a passion and an aptitude for this new field that I'm switching over into. Then yes, absolutely, anything is possible. But it really boils down to how much effort you're willing to put into it, how much you're willing to maybe step out of your comfort zone and do some things that maybe feel a little uncomfortable in order to make that happen. So absolutely, like I said, I'm an advocate of, if you want it, it absolutely can be done. It really boils down to how badly do you want it, and what are you willing to do in order to kind of make that happen. So perfect. All right. And so guys, we got just a couple more minutes here. So let me just see if I can take a couple more quick questions. Let's see. Okay, so I have a question here about educators transitioning into the ed tech industry without the tech background and starting to learning code online, for example. Okay, so again, the beautiful thing about the ed tech industry is that they're adding in some really great new tools, right? And so they have all of these amazing new platforms. They have these course building platforms. They have these other, wonderful different platforms. That's what makes it education technology. But at the end of the day, it's still a teaching platform. You're teaching, you're educating people. So the first thing that you want to emphasize, first of all, that first and foremost, you have the education, you have the heart of a teacher. You have the teaching tools. You can really help people understand people. You want to emphasize your heart and your passion for the education industry. And then the second thing is you just want to show relevance, because again, a lot of times people lose out when making switches to technical industries, because they're just slow. They're slow to get on board with the technology. And let me kind of share what I mean by that. For instance, I've been in career development for the last 6 years. I've been on LinkedIn for at least the last 6 years. I still work with clients who don't want to get on LinkedIn. They don't like social media. And I get it. There are a lot of reasons why people might not like social media, but when you're in a job search, when you're in career mode, LinkedIn is like almost essential. It's almost essential in order to really get the most bang for your buck and to meet the most amount of people and to really get yourself out there and get visible. And so if you're someone who has come in and said, hey, I don't know LinkedIn, I really don't know what to do with that, I never got on board with that, then that's what's going to make you seem like you're behind the times. That's what's going to make you seem irrelevant. And so the key is, make sure that you let them know that, hey, I understand that, ed tech is where things are going. And here's what I already know from a technical standpoint. Here's what I'm in the process of learning. Let them know that you're constantly learning, because at the end of the day, you're showcasing, you're telling, you want to go in and tell other people that, hey, this is, I want to teach you, but you have to show that you're a lifelong learner too. You have to show that you're constantly staying on top of things too. So I think just being able to show that I'm consistently learning, I'm gaining those technical skills, that's really going to go a long way in your favor. Because again, an employer is not expecting you to come in and know every single technology platform that's out there. There's no way you ever could. I mean, they're coming up with new technology every single day, right? They're always rolling out something new. But they want to understand that you do have the aptitude, that technically you are very savvy, and so you do want to show that I am savvy. I'm always on technology. I use multiple technology sites, and now I'm in the process of learning these new ed tech specific technology platforms so that I can move into that field. So really just showing that you have a mind for the technical, you have a mind for technology, that you are, in line with the times, is really going to go a long way in terms of making sure that that employers really understand and see how you're going to be a good fit for their organization. Again, every company is going to be a little bit different, but make sure you understand what they value and make sure you're going after, you have a values alignment. Make sure you have a values alignment with the companies that you are actively seeking to be a part of. All right. Well, guys, it looks like we are done. We've just come to the end of our time. And so, it has been, thank you so much for all of your questions. You guys, you kept them hot and heavy, kept the questions coming hot and heavy. So that's exciting. I'm always happy to be able to answer those questions for you. So, Again, the recording will be available for this. So again, we covered a lot of different things. I'm so glad I was able to kind of go in and answer some of your personal questions, some of those unique things. So hopefully you found that helpful. Make sure you go back and review this. Go back and get those 6 steps so that you can implement and start building out your perfect pitch. I will go ahead and say happy Wednesday again. You guys have an amazing, amazing rest of your week. And again, join us every week. Excuse me, at least next week. Again, I'm not sure how long we'll be doing the Springboard AMAs, just to be really honest with you, but definitely join us next week. I believe we'll be doing another live next week, and the topic will be announced on that. But join us, and definitely happy to kind of go through some more questions and really help you as you're kind of navigating this new career space and beyond. All right, guys, so I will just say sayonara, sign off, and you have a great rest of your day, and hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.